Hello, my friends. Welcome back to SBS English Podcast. Let's practice English together, step by step. Have you ever felt frozen when trying to speak English, even after memorizing several ready-made phrases? This happens more often than you think. Many beginners spend hours memorizing dialogues and expressions, believing it will be enough to sound fluent. But in real-life conversations, the mind often freezes. Isolated phrases, without context and proper intonation, do not work as magical keys to communication. Imagine being in a cafe, trying to order your favorite coffee. You remember memorizing, "Can I have a coffee, please?" But the barista speaks fast. "Hi, what can I get for you today?" Suddenly, all the phrases you memorized vanish from your memory. This happens because memorization without context does not prepare you for real-life situations. The difference between people who speak naturally and those who constantly freeze lies in how phrases are learned and practiced. This is where shadowing comes in, a simple yet extremely powerful technique that helps you internalize short phrases, hear the correct intonation, reproduce the natural rhythm of speech, and most importantly, gain the confidence to speak in real situations. Today, in this video, we will show step by step how to use shadowing in practical ways, applying it to everyday dialogues like ordering coffee, chatting with coworkers, or dealing with unexpected situations. It's not about memorizing. It's about absorbing and speaking naturally. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is trying to sound like a native immediately. They watch videos, repeat phrases without context, and pressure themselves to speak perfectly from the first moment. This creates anxiety and frustration. The truth is, no one learns English naturally overnight. Even native speakers started slowly, repeating words, short phrases, and observing how people around them spoke. Shadowing accelerates this process because you learn to imitate rhythm, pronunciation, and intonation in a structured way. For example, imagine a student trying to speak English at work. They know phrases like, "Good morning, how are you?" Or, "I'm fine, thank you." But when a coworker responds quickly, they freeze. Why? Because they memorize the phrase like a line in a play, not as part of a real conversation. Shadowing fixes this because you don't just repeat words. You listen, feel, and reproduce the natural intonation, as if you were really in the conversation. This technique trains your brain to speak English intuitively, without depending on translations or mechanical memorization. Now let's introduce the practical technique that will transform how you speak English. Shadowing is simple. You listen to a short phrase, immediately repeat it, and imitate the rhythm, speed, and intonation of the native speaker. Don't worry about perfection. The focus is on fluency and naturalness. We will practice with mini stories from daily life. For example, ordering coffee. First, listen to the native dialogue. "Hi, what can I get for you today?" Then, repeat immediately, imitating the intonation. "Hi, what can I get for you today?" Finally, reproduce it naturally, as if you were actually having the conversation. "Hi, what can I get for you today?" With regular practice, repetition stops being mechanical and starts flowing naturally. Your brain learns to construct complete sentences automatically, preparing you for real conversations. Now that you understand why memorizing phrases alone doesn't work, let's move on to a practical exercise that will help you start speaking naturally. We will practice a real-life conversation in 3 simple steps using shadowing. These steps are designed to gradually build your confidence and fluency without overwhelming you. Step 1 is listening carefully. In this stage, you focus only on hearing how a native speaker says each phrase. Notice the rhythm, the stress on certain words, the pauses, and the overall melody of the sentence. For example, in a cafe scenario, the barista might say, "Hi, what can I get for you today?" Don't worry about repeating yet. Just listen and absorb the intonation and natural flow. Pay attention to small details, like how "can I" is connected smoothly and how "today" is slightly emphasized. These details are what make speech sound natural, not robotic. Step 2 is immediate repetition. Here you repeat each phrase right after hearing it, trying to mimic the rhythm and intonation exactly. For example, say, "Hi, what can I get for you today?" right after the native speaker. Don't pause to think about grammar or translation. Focus on sounding like the speaker. This might feel awkward at first, but repetition builds muscle memory in your mouth and trains your brain to anticipate natural speech patterns. Shadowing works because it engages your brain and body at the same time, creating a direct connection between hearing and speaking. Step 3 is reproducing naturally in context. Now that you've listened and repeated, you try to say the phrase as if you were actually in the conversation. Imagine approaching the counter in a busy cafe. Take a deep breath and speak as if it's real. "Hi, what can I get for you today?" Here, you combine the confidence from repetition with the spontaneity of real-life interaction. The goal is not perfection, but natural flow. Each time you repeat this step, your confidence grows and your fear of speaking decreases. To make this exercise even more effective, use mini dialogues from daily life. For instance, at work, a colleague might say, "Did you finish the report?" Your 3-step shadowing practice would be: listen carefully to the exact way they say it, repeat immediately mimicking their tone, and finally reproduce it naturally, imagining your actual conversation. Over time, these mini conversations become second nature. You won't need to memorize phrases anymore because your brain has internalized them. It's important to track your progress. Start with short sessions, even 5 to 10 minutes a day, and gradually increase the duration. Record yourself to hear how you sound and compare it with native speakers. You will notice small improvements that build up quickly. For example, your pronunciation becomes clearer, your sentences start flowing without pauses, and you feel more comfortable joining real conversations. Remember, the key to success is consistency and focus on natural rhythm rather than perfection. Don't rush to speak fast. Your goal is to sound smooth and confident, not flawless. Each mini success reinforces your motivation and shows that speaking English can be enjoyable rather than stressful. Shadowing turns listening and repeating into a fun, interactive way to learn, and it removes the frustration of memorized phrases that don't work in real life. By following these 3 steps, listening carefully, repeating immediately, and reproducing naturally, you start to speak English like a native, not because you memorized phrases, but because your brain learned to process and produce them automatically. These are the same methods that many successful students have used to overcome fear, embarrassment, and hesitation. They proved that even beginners can start speaking naturally in a few weeks if they practice strategically. Now that you've practiced the 3-step shadowing exercise, let's add some additional techniques to strengthen your fluency and boost your confidence. While shadowing is powerful, combining it with practical strategies makes the learning process faster and more enjoyable. One effective approach is chunking. Instead of thinking in individual words, focus on small groups of words that naturally go together. For example, instead of memorizing, "I would like a coffee" word by word, treat it as a single chunk. "I would like a coffee, please." By practicing chunks, your brain starts to process speech as a flowing sequence, just like a native speaker does. This reduces hesitation and allows you to speak smoothly without pausing between words. Another important technique is shadowing with emotion and intention. When you repeat phrases, don't just imitate the sound. Feel the situation as if it's real. If you're ordering coffee, imagine your excitement for that first sip, or the polite smile you would give the barista. If you're greeting a colleague, feel genuine curiosity or friendliness. Adding emotion helps your voice sound more natural and your expressions more convincing. This is what separates robotic repetition from authentic, engaging speech. You can also incorporate daily life mini-stories into your practice. Take everyday situations, like chatting with friends, asking for directions, or answering simple questions at work. Record short dialogues, listen to them multiple times, and practice shadowing with full attention to rhythm and tone. The more realistic the scenarios, the easier it is for your brain to transfer what you practice into real-life conversations. For example, a mini story could be, Sarah walks into the office and sees her coworker. She says, "Good morning. How was your weekend?" Practice shadowing every line as if you are Sarah, including pauses, inflections, and natural speed. It's also useful to track your progress visually. Keep a journal of small achievements, phrases you mastered, dialogues you can reproduce confidently, or situations where you felt less anxious speaking. Even small wins matter because they reinforce motivation and show tangible improvement. Many learners underestimate the power of seeing progress. Realizing that you can speak a full sentence naturally without thinking of every word is incredibly encouraging and helps build lasting confidence. Another tip is shadowing in different formats. Listen to audio recordings, watch short videos, or even use apps with native dialogues. Varying your sources exposes you to different accents, speeds, and intonation patterns, which strengthens your listening skills and prepares you for real-world conversations. You can also practice in front of a mirror to observe facial expressions and mouth movements. This may feel unusual at first, but it helps align pronunciation with natural speech. Finally, remember the principle of small, consistent practice. 15 minutes of focused shadowing daily is more effective than an hour once a week. Consistency trains your brain to process English continuously, turning shadowing into a habit. Pair this with mini dialogues from real life, chunking, emotional engagement, and varied practice materials, and you will notice your fluency improving steadily. These additional techniques, combined with the core 3-step shadowing exercise, ensure that you're not just repeating phrases, you're learning to think and speak in English naturally. Your brain begins to associate sounds, rhythm, and meaning automatically, reducing the fear and hesitation that often block learners. Within a few weeks of focused, structured practice, even beginners can start speaking confidently in everyday situations. The scenario: you walk into a cafe and a friendly barista greets you. The goal is to shadow each line in 3 steps: listen, repeat, reproduce naturally. The dialogue begins with the barista. "Hi, what can I get for you today?" First, listen carefully. Notice how "hi" is short and casual. "What can I get for you" flows smoothly, and "today" has a slight emphasis. Don't worry about perfect pronunciation yet. Focus on rhythm and intonation. Next, repeat immediately. "Hi, what can I get for you today?" Try to match the speed, stress, and melody of the native speaker. Imagine standing at the counter, smiling politely, and preparing to order. Your body and voice work together to create natural speech. Now reproduce naturally as if it's real. "Hi, what can I get for you today?" Feel the emotion, perhaps anticipation for your coffee or polite friendliness. This is the crucial step where memorization becomes automatic language production. The barista responds, "Would you like your usual?" Listen carefully. Notice how "would you like" is connected smoothly, and your usual has a relaxed conversational tone. Then repeat immediately. "Would you like your usual?" Finally, reproduce naturally, imagining your response. You might say, "Yes, please." "And can I get a latte today?" Shadowing with intention makes this feel spontaneous rather than rehearsed. The conversation continues. Barista: "Sure. Anything else?" You listen, repeat, and reproduce. "No, that's all, thanks." Notice how short phrases make it easy to practice shadowing. The goal isn't long sentences, but fluent, confident chunks that sound natural. Each line builds your confidence, and by the end of the dialogue, your brain starts to process English in real time. To reinforce learning, repeat this mini dialogue several times a day. You can record yourself, listen, and adjust. Try different scenarios: a colleague asking, "Did you finish the report?" Or a friend saying, "What are you doing this weekend?" Break each dialogue into small chunks, shadow each line, and reproduce it naturally. Over time, this builds automatic fluency. Another tip is to combine shadowing with visualization. Imagine the cafe, the barista's smile, the aroma of coffee, and your actions. Your brain associates the English phrases with real-life context, making retrieval faster and more natural in future conversations. Shadowing isn't just about repeating sounds. It's about connecting speech with experience, emotion, and intention. Many learners report that after practicing applied dialogues this way, they feel less fear of speaking. Even in unexpected situations, their brain recalls natural phrases automatically, instead of relying on memorized scripts. Small, consistent practice with real-life mini-dialogues transforms hesitation into confidence. By the end of this step, you will notice that you can reproduce phrases more quickly, your pronunciation improves, your intonation sounds natural, and your confidence in conversations grows. Shadowing allows you to speak without thinking about grammar or translating in your head. It trains your brain to think directly in English. Now that you've practiced applied dialogues and mastered the 3-step shadowing technique, it's time to focus on motivation, progress, and reinforcing your learning. One of the most powerful aspects of shadowing is that it allows you to see real, tangible improvements in your speaking ability. Small daily wins accumulate quickly, and each success builds confidence. Many students feel discouraged at first because they compare themselves to native speakers or expect instant fluency. But fluency is a journey, not a destination. By practicing even 15 minutes a day, you are already ahead of many learners who rely solely on memorization. Every phrase you repeat naturally, every dialogue you shadow successfully, strengthens your brain's ability to process English automatically. It's helpful to celebrate small achievements. Did you shadow an entire mini dialogue without pausing? Did you feel more confident answering a colleague's question? These are milestones. Write them down or record your voice and listen to your progress over time. Hearing your own improvement is incredibly motivating and reinforces the habit of daily practice. Another key insight is that confidence grows from repetition, not perfection. Shadowing trains your brain to speak in real time, reducing hesitation and fear. You will notice that over time, you no longer need to translate from your native language. Instead, English starts flowing naturally in your mind and your responses become instinctive. Even small daily victories like ordering coffee or greeting someone naturally contribute to your overall fluency. To maintain motivation, vary your practice. Explore new dialogues, listen to different accents, and use real-life mini-stories. For instance, practice shadowing a conversation at a store, asking for directions, or chatting with a friend. The diversity of scenarios ensures your brain learns to adapt, and you feel ready for any real-world conversation. Many learners also find it helpful to visualize success. Imagine yourself speaking confidently with a native speaker, participating in a group conversation, or presenting at work. Shadowing is more effective when combined with this mental rehearsal because your brain associates English phrases with real-life confidence and presence. Visualization and practice together create automatic speech patterns, making real conversations feel effortless. Finally, remember that progress is visible and motivating. Each day you practice shadowing, you are reducing fear, building fluency, and training your brain to think in English. Over weeks, you will notice a remarkable change. Your sentences flow naturally, your pronunciation improves, and conversations become enjoyable rather than stressful. Students who stick to shadowing consistently often report that they no longer feel nervous speaking in real situations. They simply speak, pause naturally, and respond with confidence. In conclusion, stop relying on memorized phrases that make you freeze. Focus on shadowing. Listen carefully, repeat immediately, and reproduce naturally. Use mini dialogues from daily life, add emotion and intention, chunk phrases, and practice consistently. Track your progress, visualize success, and celebrate small victories. With patience and focus, speaking English naturally will no longer be a distant goal. It will become part of your daily life. You now have all the tools to start speaking English confidently without memorization and to enjoy the process of learning. Remember, the key is consistent practice, attention to rhythm and intonation, and applying shadowing in real-life situations. Start today and soon English will flow naturally, just like a native speaker.